Hey, Guru here, and today I'm doing a similar video to a recent one I did recently where I showed an old drop I had done of the Dravidians and compared it to the current Dravidians in Age of Empires 2. And I thought I would do that again. As you can see, this is actually from 2022, so I'm not pulling any wool over anybody's eyes, I promise. And this is just kind of just for curiosity's sake to kind of see how some of us envisioned some of these civs compared to what we got. This isn't to say that my ideas are better or anything, just an interesting thing. So I will note that this wasn't actually a complete document. I didn't have anything for like tech trees, and I didn't finish the Armenians, but kind of just a general idea. So the Georgians. So let's see what I was right about. And the things I was right about, I've put in bold. So I did predict it was going to be a cavalry civ, not exactly a mind-blowing prediction. Now, I had an interesting prediction or not prediction, I wasn't trying to make a prediction, I was just making my own idea. So I gave them extra food, wood, gold, and stone, which I think is kind of a cool bonus. I mean, helps you a little bit for going for villagers, towers, other things. And it was kind of based off the myth of the Golden Fleece, which apparently was supposed to have been in the area of Georgia, which I guess it's not really that relevant to, the medieval period, but maybe just reflects the ideas that there were about that being a prosperous region. I don't know. I just think it's kind of an interesting bonus. And faith for free. I mean, that's a super expensive tech, but honestly, that would free up a ton of food and gold to like research Paladin. So I don't know. I also don't hate that technology, but that's definitely not what we got. And siege workshops being cheaper, yeah, that didn't happen either. Yeah, my very little about this actually ended up matching with what we got. But some of these, honestly, I think some of these ideas I prefer compared to what we got. Like knights having a bonus versus camels, that reflects the history of Georgians kind of repulsing Arab armies, which I think that would be really thematic. I like the idea of the Georgians having that kind of defensive theme, even with their cavalry, which is kind of what went for. And so I give them Manaspa, which was a historical elite unit for the Georgian kingdom. And I believe I came up with this after the introduction of the Burgundians and their charge cavalry. So this is basically the idea. I think the idea I had here was similar to whatever that unit is called that does the charges, but more frequent, less powerful, to kind of really get that like repeat charge tactics. Because I believe Georgians were pretty early with like really using lances and stuff. And also the nomadic resettlement is, I believe that's, if I remember correctly, that's referencing like Kipchaks, like nomads on the Pontic steppe. The Georgians, I believe, kind of settled a large number of them in their kingdom. So I think this was referencing the Cumans bonus. I don't think I like came up with this concept, but I think it's a cool idea. It'd definitely be similar to the Sicilians, and then just a bonus that lets them recharge better, which I don't know if that'd be that significant. That'd probably be kind of a weak bonus. So as you can see, I was mostly wrong. I was right that that'd be a cavalry civ. I was kind of right about the architecture because none of the existing architecture sets really seem to match, them. So I was kind of right about that, but as you can see, I was mostly wrong. So I did not predict Georgians. Though honestly, I think some of my ideas would have reflected Georgians a bit better. I'll be honest, I think it's kind of weird that Georgians have this theme in game of like having the late game cavalry swarm. Because I mean, Georgia, even at its extent, wasn't that large of a kingdom compared to its neighbors. I don't know. They're just not really. It's not really the place I would associate with having like this, massive cavalry swarm. So honestly, I feel like that was kind of a bit of an odd identity they gave the Georgians. And like the mule carts, no one could have predicted the mule carts. Well, maybe someone could have, but which I think I don't know. Like I kind of like the mule carts, but I feel like they probably should have been given to like nomadic civs. But Georgians having mule carts just feels kind of weird. Like they just came across that or like saw the mule carts in Age of Mythology and thought, oh, that'd be cool, and just gave it to the next expansion they were making rather than giving it to people for whom it made sense. But yeah, overall, I was mostly wrong. I mean, I don't think this was that great of a design. I think this would have been similar to the Ethiopians, where a lot of your bonuses you just don't notice after a while. Like, you get some extra resources, you get a free tech and stuff, and after a while, it's just you don't notice it. Like, it just feels like you don't really have bonuses for the most part. So, I don't think my idea was better, though I think some of these could have really been cool. Like, knights getting some bonus damage versus camels. I think that would have been thematic and historical and cool. But yeah, so that's what I came up with for the Georgians a couple years ago. Now Armenians, I didn't actually finish the Armenians, so I'll just go through some things I was kind of right. As you can see, just kind of looking through my notes, there are a few bonuses that went to Georgians or Armenians that I was sort of on about, like rebuilders working faster. The Georgians got something like that. They got cheaper repairing, so that's similar. Though this was for Armenians. Elevation bonus for buildings. Again, Georgians got, elevation defense basically. So, and I did, I was thinking of maybe something like that for Armenians. And I know that they're, Armenians were famed for their archers, but I didn't actually do anything with that, so I can't say I predicted the Armenian composite bowman. And I just had some historical notes here. None of it really ended up applying. I mean, some of the things were kind of similar in theme. Like they didn't end up being a defensive civ, so that wasn't. But like the rebuilders, honestly, I think rebuilding faster would have been a great tech for them, and I think honestly rebuilding faster would be way better than just rebuilding for less. Because I mean, rebuilding faster could be a really, really great defensive bonus. Because you have a castle, it's getting hit with trebuchets. Being able to like have your villagers repaired faster would be huge. That would legitimately be really impactful. And villagers garrisoning and providing more arrows. That didn't happen, but they do have fortified churches, which fire arrows. So I guess it's kind of thematically similar. And they don't have cheaper monasteries, but they just kind of have, fortified monasteries. So there's some similar thoughts. And I was definitely wasn't there with the other things. And of course, this isn't complete. So, definitely mostly wrong. I will note, so if you know anything about historical Armenia, so Armenian Cilicia, there's kind of two historical or medieval Armenias you can draw on, which I'm not an expert on this, but this is my general understanding. There was like Armenian states over here at different times, which were often subjugated by their neighbors. And then there was Armenian Cilicia, however you say it, Little Armenia. And my understanding is that the devs decided to not really focus at all on the homeland of Armenians and that history, but just focused entirely on Armenian Cilicia, however you say it, and their relation with the Crusader states, which I think has resulted in them having a weird identity, honestly. Because, I don't know, historical Armenia, Armenians were famed for, their horses, their horsemanship, things like that. Their, defensive castles in the mountains and stuff. That's my general understanding. But then instead what we got with the actual Armenians was just this, this totally foot-based army with, crappy cavalry, or they have, really tough infantry, and they have, good ships. And it's historical Armenia didn't even really have access to the coast, pretty much. So, and the mule carts and stuff. And honestly, I think Armenians are kind of the weirdest civ in existence right now, just historically speaking, because they don't really match the history of Armenia. I can't tell. I mean, maybe they match Armenian Cilicia. Maybe they match that, state pretty well. But just like the overall history of Armenia and what's associated with Armenians, this just doesn't really cover it well. They did cover the Christian aspect decently with like warrior priests, in the fortified churches. Armenia does have a long Christian history. I think I might have read somewhere that they were like the first people to build churches, or I don't remember exactly. But I mean, Armenia has a long connection with Christianity. But yeah, it's just like the navy, the infantry stuff. It's just kind of weird. It doesn't really match Armenia. I don't feel like I'm playing Armenians. If I wanted, I mean, if I wanted to feel like I was playing Armenians, I think I would. Well, really, that involve having like heavy cavalry archers, like that, and like good defenses. Like that to me would feel like Armenians. What we got does not feel like Armenians. So I was completely wrong with the Armenians, basically on everything, for the most part. And some of my ideas for Armenians were similar to some of what ended up being used for Georgians. I was mostly wrong in this case for both civs. I wish I had been more correct for Armenians because I honestly don't like what they did with them. It just feels weird. I mean, no one, thinks of like powerful infantry and they think, oh man, Armenians, yeah. I mean, my understanding is that Armenians historically were more famed for cavalry. So it's just kind of weird to have these like chonky infantry running around. Like infantry and ships. It's just kind of a weird decision to focus on Armenian Cilicia instead of the Armenian heartland. I mean, I think if there had been a campaign where you like sort of like flee Armenian or the Armenian heartland and found Armenian Cilicia, that would be cool. But just totally focusing on the latter, it's just, I don't know, I think it's kind of weird. So overall for this one, I was mostly wrong. And, I was also thinking of some other civs they could have done. It's too bad, honestly, they didn't do another civ like the Khazars. Though, I mean, I get it. There's such a huge number of civs that I think they're pretty set on only doing two at a time pretty much from now on. Which is fair. I mean, I play a decent amount of Age of Empires too, and I haven't really done Armenians that much. I'm not that, comfortable with them. I'm more comfortable with Georgians. But, like, if they had done 3 civs, it would have been harder to adjust for people who play ranked. But, yeah, so overall, did I predict the Armenians and Georgians? I did not. In some ways, I wish I had. Because I'll be honest, some of the directions of some of my ideas I think would have been a lot better, or at least cooler, than what we got. Though that's mostly the case for Armenians. Yeah, I mean, I think I can't say how they, are, balance-wise. They're probably fine. I don't know. But just thematically, I think the Armenians we got thematically are super off, I'm going to be honest. And the Georgians we got thematically are kind of off. Like, they both feel really nomadic with their mule carts, which isn't really accurate. Georgians feel like this, like, cavalry horde, cavalry swarms kind of thing with their, population efficient cavalry and regenerating cavalry. And I guess regenerating cavalry kind of matches my idea with like lance cavalry and the idea of charge, like repeated charges, vaguely. But yeah, so I guess you could say I wasn't super impressed with that expansion, I'll be honest. I mean, I think they really did not succeed in their execution of the Armenians. The Georgians are alright. But that's my thoughts. I guess you could say that's my review of the Mountain Royals expansion unintentionally. But yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well did I predict the Georgians and Armenians? 1. Maybe 2. So, not at all. But thank you for watching. I've been Guru Guru. Have a good one. Bye.